Hi, I'm Mark Jewell, co-founder of Selling Energy, here to share with you my thoughts on an offering that we created a few years ago called Segment Guides. This is a database. It's an online, on-demand database that we created because our goal was to make salespeople into sales professionals, people that could position themselves as peers as opposed to salespeople as they approach their prospects and customers. Okay, it's called Segment Guides because that's sort of shorthand for market segment specific research. Okay, more on that later. First, let me give you a little backstory in case you don't know who I am. I've been in the energy business for about 30 years. I've been selling for about 45 years in 5 different industries, but the last 30 or so years I've spent advancing energy solutions in the marketplace. And over that period of time, I've had the privilege of influencing decision making in more than 3 billion square feet of properties. You might say this is not my first rodeo. Years ago, when we started selling energy, it occurred to me that really a lot of salespeople were not only accidental salespeople, in other words, they had never planned to be in a sales career, but here they are. Their success now depends on their ability to advance energy solutions. But another thing that occurred to me was that most people, when they sell, they get just too tied up in bits, bytes, and blinking lights. They talk their own technology, and they really have a very imperfect understanding of what their prospect or customer actually cares about. So I thought, wouldn't it be great if someone were to do the research and put it together in a database that would basically create a rising tide that floats all boats, as President Kennedy used to say, and essentially give people the research, the insights into these market segments that they just didn't have the time to, or maybe the gumption to gather themselves. Okay, so we decided that we would spend several hundred hours per segment researching government, industry, and academic sources, collecting all the footnotes, and collecting a body of work that would be comprised of several areas. Number one, what's the role of energy in that particular segment? Number two, what are their jargon and yardsticks? Number three, what is their profit margin and other financial metrics? Number four, and perhaps most interestingly, where can you prove that an energy solution generated non-utility cost financial and non-financial benefits, as opposed to the most obvious utility cost financial benefits and rebates? Okay, that's personally my fascination, and that's one of the reasons I really dove into this database development, because I thought, it's worth several thousand hours of research across all these segments just to finally get in the can proof from government, industry, and academic sources that this stuff actually does drive benefits more than utility cost savings. Okay, so there's where we are. We have this beautiful database, and it's accessible through any online source: smartphone, tablet, PC, any other internet-connected device. You should keep in mind that we continually update this database in at least 3 dimensions. Number one, we are giving you new trends in financials and sound bites that we discover in each one of these segments. So we find a new connection between an energy solution and something that these decision makers would care about. We make sure we document it and we footnote it. Number two, we're always adding new segments. As I mentioned earlier, we have 18 segments. We're adding another 8 on the roadmap. So it's a very robust database, and it's getting more robust by the year. Number three, we are in the process of updating it for COVID-19 pandemic and recession impacts. And there are 2 sides to this. Number one, you may find that in the wake of this COVID-19 pandemic and recession, some of these segments actually need your solutions more than ever before. In some cases, it will address social distancing requirements, and indoor health requirements, worker safety requirements. In other cases, it may help them regain their financial footing as they recover from sheltering in place and having manufacturing facilities shut down or whatever. The other dimension of that is that you may find that some of the segments that you've been working in are no longer the most advantageous segments to be pursuing, and that you may have to go after prospects in segments that you have not yet touched. So by looking at all these segment-specific sound bites that tie energy solutions to outcomes that are very powerful in the boardroom, it may actually redirect your marketing and sales activities in a profound way. So what we talk about is the role of energy, the jargon and the yardsticks, the profit margins and other financial metrics, the trade organizations, trade publications, the sound bites that I mentioned, and of course footnotes for all those sound bites. And by the way, the footnotes alone, some of these segment guides have 80 and 100 footnotes. They themselves constitute a bibliography, if you will, that if you go drill down in those and also drill down in the trade organizations, trade publications section, you'll really get a highly nuanced understanding of what these segments prospects care about, and you'll be a much more convincing sales professional. So I'm going to end with 4 observations. Number one, you could certainly do this research on your own. But you have to ask yourself, what's your time worth? I mean, I can tell you authoritatively that this has taken us several hundred hours per segment, and we're already into 18 segments. Now, if you're only plying the waters of one segment, sure, you could spend a couple hundred hours of your time and get to where we are in one of the 18 or soon to be 26 segments. The second thing is, if you, the segment guides not only makes you a better conversationalist, but it also gives you insight, proven insights into non-utility cost financial, non-financial benefits. So when you hold those up to the light and say to your prospect, not only will I help you save energy, but I'm going to give you this, maybe reduce cost of goods sold because my better lighting will enable you to have a lower scrap rate. Or in one of the most crazy examples I often use in keynotes is the example that when you put LED lights over cows in an agricultural milking parlor, the cows actually start producing more milk. And the payback of a lighting retrofit alone is about 4 years, but when you add the incremental milk to the denominator of the simple payback period calculation, the payback goes to 3 months. So which would you rather talk to the CFO about? A 4-year payback or getting your money back 4 times a year? Now, those two examples I just gave you were lighting related, but this database is more than just lighting. It's HVAC and other things. So it's something you definitely, I think you'll become a better conversationalist with your prospects and customers, and you'll probably have a lot more interesting cocktail party conversation with your friends and peers and spouses, just because there's so many interesting data points in this database. The third observation I'll give you is that the COVID-19 recession, COVID-19 pandemic and resulting recession are really impacting different markets very differently. And as I mentioned earlier, you may find that the marketplace that you've been going after prospects in is maybe no longer the best bet. And by understanding how your energy solutions produce really powerful non-utility cost financial and non-financial impacts for prospects in a different segment, you may decide to start mining for prospects and customers there. And finally, in the rapid economy and rapidly changing economy and energy solutions marketplace, you really need to stay up to date. And the fact that Segment Guides is online on demand, that you can access it whenever you have a smartphone or tablet, anything connected to the internet, you can be assured that you have access to the most interesting sound bites to make you the most interesting conversationalist as you're delivering your elevator pitches and having conversations with internal champions and, for that matter, the C-suite. So how do you gain access to it? First, if you go to our website and just buy a subscription to it, it's $588 a year. If you buy another selling energy offering like Selling in 6 Platinum or Recession Selling, we add segment guides for only $156. We give you a tremendous group discount, the same discount we give to utilities and other large training sponsors who buy 1,000 licenses at a time. So you're either going to pay full price if you buy it alone, $588 per year, or you're going to pay $156 if you add it to Selling in 6 Platinum or our Recession Selling curriculum. Actually, if you go to our boot camp, you get the segment guides for free. So there are lots of different ways to get it. Whichever way you get it, you should just definitely check it out because I think it's going to help you. I can tell you in conclusion that we have people who have taken segment guides licenses and afterwards tell me that 75% of their sales are as a result of either citing a non-utility cost financial or non-financial benefit that they found in segment guides, or doing a nifty little exercise that we enable called digits to widgets, where they take a profit margin figure that they found in segment guides, they take the projected savings of their project, they divide it by that profit margin figure to derive the amount of revenue that that particular company would have to produce in it would have had to produce last year to make the same amount of savings the old-fashioned way by doing business, selling what they're doing. So just to give you an example of that, if I know I'm going to save you $1,000, and let's say you're a music store, and our segment guides database says the profit margin of a music store is 2%. That means that by doing that $1,000 savings with you through your energy solution, they're getting the economic value, same economic value as selling $50,000 worth of sheet music at a 2% profit margin last year. And there are lots of great sales that have been made that way. I mean, literally, there was one of our clients, a big utility. They called it the Dunkin' Munchkin close. They found out what the profit margin what the profit margin was of a typical Dunkin' Donuts franchise, and they found out that the amount of energy savings they would give these Dunkin' Donuts franchisees would equate to millions and millions of Dunkin' Munchkins, and they called it the Dunkin' Munchkins close and made the sale right on the spot. Another utility, a very large utility of ours, training client of ours, Duke Energy, had a one-page ad a couple of years ago, and it was in Progressive Grocer magazine. It was placed by one of our boot camp graduates, and the headline of the ad said, "Sell 15,000 bushels of peaches or switch to LED lighting. Same results, your choice." He basically took data out of segment guides, reverse engineered how many peaches this supermarket had to sell last year to derive the same amount of savings that they could give them with a incentive aided installation of LED lighting, and the rest was history. That ad not only was an epitome of what I just told you, it was also very effective. It dramatically increased the flow of energy projects to Duke. But thirdly, and perhaps most amusingly, if that's a word, they actually won Best Print Ad in the United States in the utility space according to eSource Forum in October of 2015. So bottom line is this stuff works, but it only works if you have the data, and Segment Guides gives you the data. Okay? So, if you want to take your selling to the next level, please contact us today. Check out Segment Guides on our website, and you'll be glad you did. Okay? Meanwhile, thanks for listening, and we hope to contact you soon. Bye-bye now.